Within walking distance of my mostly white middle-class Round Rock neighborhood, a community comes together to show solidarity with their family, friends, neighbors, and citizens. Round Rock regularly makes lists of the safest cities in America. Round Rock regularly makes lists of the best place to raise a family in America. After last night, Round Rock should also be listed as one of the best places with people who genuinely care in America. Welcome to this special The What's Update No Joke Report. Normally we here at The What's Update don't jump into the fray of current events unless we can poke fun at it. Last night, while driving to my friendly neighborhood HEB, I saw something that I had never seen in the more than 14 years I have lived in my community. A demonstration. People were gathered on one of the busier intersections in Round Rock, peacefully chanting and holding signs. Women and men, children and pets, mothers, fathers, grandparents, white, black, Hispanic, people of every size and color were gathered to show support and solidarity with their fellow Americans, still reeling for the death of George Floyd while in Minneapolis police custody. This is what my community had to say.
Alright, so could you introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, my name is Michael. I'm kind of a resident of the neighborhood over here, and I'm just trying to support a cause I believe in.
So what inspired you to come out here today and have all this?
Are you going to come back out?
So actually yesterday I was here with my sister and my brother, and we had seen someone else standing here by herself, and we were like, oh, we want to join in, support her. And so we came out here, and by that time she was gone, but we just decided to stay here for a little bit, and more people showed up, and they seemed to support what we were doing, so we were like, let's do it one more time today.
Okay. What do you hope will come about as a result of your actions here today?
I think really with this specific issue, it centers around George Floyd, who I'm sure you've heard of.
Yes.
And really we want to just kind of spread awareness about the issue in a peaceful manner, show people support, and maybe, enough ruckus around the nation, people like making noise, will bring some change to like the DA's office, the Attorney General handling things,
All right. So what are your personal reactions to everything that's been going on, especially with other protests?
It's a really complex issue because, I think people's frustration comes from a breakdown in the system that they perceive, and I guess like when they perceive a government that's not serving its purpose, like what else do you expect but chaos? So I definitely don't condone like any violence or looting or anything, but it makes sense, based on how people have been affected, people's voices that haven't been heard over the years. So I think I understand it. Don't condone it, but I understand it.
That's very noble of you.
Thank you.
It's very nice to hear a peaceful voice.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I wanted to kind of inspire and join here today. It's kind of a peaceful.
Were you the one who originally organized this, or if not, who can we talk to about that?
So the first person I saw out here was Karina. She was out here, and then my sister followed her. So I'm really like removed from this. But yeah, I support them. But Karina and my sister, I think, are probably who inspired me personally.
All right then. Well, thank you for answering some questions.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Alright, so is it okay if I ask you some questions about all this?
Yeah, totally. And Marilyn's a part of it too.
Okay, well, it's very nice to meet both of you.
Just smile it. Be clear.
Okay, so what do you two hope will come about as a result of your actions yesterday? Like as a result of these protests?
Yeah, I just feel like, I just hope the word gets out, like more people realize like what a problem this is, and it's not like, it happens to everyone, like it's just, like Black Lives Matter, like it's really that simple. Like obviously all lives should matter, but clearly that's not happening, so.
All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter, and that's the most important thing of making sure that this is seen and heard. A lot of people feel uncomfortable because they don't want to deal with the fact that their world's being shaken up a little bit, but I think in order for anything to change and for systematic racism to eventually end, we have to start making more people feel uncomfortable, and we've been really lucky that most people have been supportive, and this is an amazing turnout of humans.
Yeah, and it certainly seems like you're getting a reaction from the passing cars.
Definitely.
So how do you feel about the other protests that have made other news organizations where people have gotten a bit more rowdy than just something peaceful like this?
Black Lives Matter!
Yeah, I'm gonna just say, I mean, it's important that they're like out there and they're trying, but like when it gets violent, that's like that doesn't help, you know. It just doesn't make it worse, but like it doesn't really. Yeah, it makes it worse actually. Like they're hurting like innocent people, and it's not helping.
Absolutely, and I want to say that a lot of the violence that's happening is coming from a lot of people who aren't necessarily about the movement. They just want to have anarchy, have their Joker moment, if anyone has seen the movie, unfortunately, which has nothing to do with this protest for peace. And
It makes everyone look bad.
it makes everyone look bad, especially people of color. So we want to absolutely discourage that, and yeah, so we are, but at the same time, if people of color feel outraged, they should. We should all feel outraged and not try to censor how people are going to react, but maybe discourage violence. But people of color for sure are entitled to feel how they're going to feel about what's been happening recently, and it's no one's right to try to censor that.
What are your personal reactions to the situation at large, like especially going down to the first situation of the murder of George Floyd? Like, what did you feel at that time?
Absolutely heartbroken. Absolutely so enraged that this will just this has just kept happening over and over and over for no reason, except for the reason that we've allowed it and we've stood by and pretended that it's not real and haven't tried to face it and deal with it head on. I mean, I think any person, and I would like to believe that every person out there is against anyone being unrightfully murdered. Absolutely murdered, knowingly that he was going to die. And that was my reaction. It's completely disgusting.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just really like, it's just disgusting. Like my mom we were talking about it. My mom said like, you wouldn't even do that to an animal. So how can you like step on a person's neck for 9 minutes? Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand.
It's like, why is that?
It's really terrible. So what inspired y'all to come out here today?
Aside from the recent events, personally, I have a biracial daughter, and as her mother, it's my duty to be her voice. She's only 3, so that's my granddaughter. Yeah.
So, do you believe, or what is your reactions to all the other protests that have been going on around the nation?
I'm going to jump in here because I feel like you are talking about the way that protests, I feel like there's a little bit of insinuation in that question about protests turning violent, because I'm hearing a lot of people talking about this.
By no means. What y'all are doing here is, it's lovely. You're getting people's attention.
Sure, but the question to compare it, right? Like the question to draw contrast, because obviously there's not any looting here, there's not any like throwing of stuff, there's not any like violence or rioting.
Right.
I would never insinuate that.
Okay, I'm hearing a lot of that, and I'm just ready for it because I'm going to answer your question. I want to separate those two things. Okay, protesters are protesting, rioters are rioting, looters are looting. People that get on the internet and don't have anything to say about George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and everybody we can think of going back, and we can list hundreds of names. You know, like if people are out here not commenting on that, but then they're saying things like, well, violence isn't going to solve it, like the looting is wrong. That's right, the looting is not good. It doesn't serve George Floyd's memory, but the people who are looting are not there for George Floyd. The people who are protesting are there for George Floyd, and those things need to be separated.
It's partially why I came out here today, because a lot of the press that has been going on right now is only covering the violence there in those situations where it's not an actual protest for making the change. So I just definitely wanted to show here what people can do when they're actually trying to make a change.
Well, what you can also show here is that when this protest started, there were 2 police SUVs here and 2 uniformed officers standing with us, not escalating anything, not turning anything violent, and you will see a lot of evidence of officers doing that in cities across the country. So when people talk about how protests turn violent, it's not just about the individual citizens that come out. There is video evidence of people whose job it is to de-escalate and keep the peace in these situations doing the opposite, because they know once they provoke, they can arrest.
It's good to make that distinction.
The places that are having violent protests are having them because they are being treated violently. If anybody was out here with, barricades and rubber bullets for us, people might be concerned that this would get violent. But since there is nobody in riot gear, there's not a riot in sight.
Well, that's good to see.
And I also just want to make sure, I don't know who you've talked to yet and who you haven't, we are not the people who organize this protest. We're here in support. So I do also want to make sure that you are talking to people of color whose specific communities are more directly affected by this, who have been on the front lines of this fight for years with less power than white people have. It's about goddamn time white people put themselves on the front lines and use their power.
Amen.
But I need you to be giving voice to the people of color that are here and doing the organization and have been doing the work for literally hundreds of years. We're here because of work other people have been doing. We are finally showing up. They've been here for years with less power and they need to be seen. I'll just say one more thing if I can.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of people out here today, and there's a lot of people driving by and honking and yelling things like Black Lives Matter, and that feels good to be out here in unity, and it feels good to yell in support of each other. But the real question is, what do we do when the protests die down? Do we get complacent again? Do we keep fighting for anti-racist policies and trainings in our police departments, our city councils, our school districts? We have to keep fighting, because that's the thing about white people using their allyship. It's easy to come out and make a sign and stand up. It's hard every day to do the work that actually makes change, that's not exciting, that nobody sees on your social media feed, that we're not gonna see, we're not gonna see the results of all of that work for possibly decades. That is the stuff, like, people need to work every single day. Educate yourself, educate your friends, and talk to the people that have influence in your community and make sure that they are doing stuff to implement policies that try to undo hundreds of years of systemic racism in this country.
Sure, I just showed up here, so I don't know much about their personal group, but I know that they stand for Black Lives Matter, so that's why I decided to.
So, how did you find out about what was going on here, or the group in general?
Yeah, so I'm very active with the Round Rock community. So one of my friends posted that they're here today, and so I was like, okay, nice. I had some extra time and decided to come out.
Would you say that social media is kind of a key measure towards making sure that people know what to do?
Absolutely. Plus, I've never been to a protest, and so I thought today would be the best time to do it.
Well, part of what we're trying to do here is get the word out about this stuff because, well, it's important.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being out here. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being out here as well. This is a really important thing for everybody to know about.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching this special report. We will return very soon with a new full episode. And as always, it is what it is.